everyone, it's Justine, and today I'm going to be looking at comparing embossing powders, and I'm going to make my favorite card out of my favorite embossing powder. Now I'm pretty sure everyone has in their stash a few different types of embossing powder that's in a white color. For example, I have the Frosted Antiquities, Silver Pearl, I have sticky embossing powder, I have clear embossing powder, I have white embossing powder, and I'm going to take out this distress glitter to go along with the sticky to show you how it actually works. So what I decided to do was take the Snowflake Whisper stamp from Create a Smile Stamps, and I decided to stamp out each one of these and emboss them to show you what kind of look you can get with each of these embossing powders. Now I'm going to be stamping each of these in Versamark ink, which is what you use with embossing powder, and I'm going to stamp each and every one of these down and show you in the end what kind of effect they have on the stamp and the stamping, if any, what makes them the same and what makes them different. I'm using all embossing powder from Ranger, so it stays very consistent with the same company. Now while I stamp each one of these little panels in the Versamark and I add the embossing powder, I'm going to set them off to the side, and I'm not going to heat emboss them just yet. I'll heat emboss them all at the same time. So I'm just doing the same thing over and over again at this point for the different panels. And I've labeled each of the panels so we can see exactly how they turn out. So the important part is going to be when we melt them, of course, which is why I'm going so quickly right now. So the very first one that I'm going to show you is the sticky plus the glitter. So I've set my embossing gun on, or my heater here, for a minute before I actually applied it, which is why the embossing powder is melting so quickly. This sticky embossing powder is used to set glitter for the most part. That's what it differentiates from, for example, clear or white. So what you do is you melt it so it becomes a glue. You pour your glitter over top, give it a flick on the back, and that's going to make your cardstock. So, of course, Tim Holtz makes very different colors of glitter, and there's lots of different glitters on the market. I decided to use the clear one, and this is how it turned out. And I'll show you at the end exactly how they all turn out in a photo, and I'll compare them all. This is going to be the clear embossing powder. Now, clear is going to adapt, of course, to the color of the cardstock that you're using. So if you're embossing on pink, it's going to turn out pink. If you're embossing on gray, it's going to turn out gray. So you'll see it melting here, and it's creating a tone-on-tone look for this. This is a great way as well to preserve your background and then ink over top of it, and it'll resist and your background will still show through. So you'll see that this is melting slightly darker than the cardstock itself because it's creating a gloss over top. In the end, when I make my card, it was the clear embossing that I chose for this particular design. Now you can see the sticky with the glitter, which you can't really tell what it is. I would assume if you were to do that on a white cardstock, let's say with red glitter, you'd be able to see quite well exactly what that is. The clear takes on the cardstock color, and this one here is the Silver Pearl. Now this was recommended to me by Jennifer McGuire in one of her card videos, and I decided I wanted to try it. And this turned out to be very similar to silver, but it had more of a pearl tinge to it, which I guess is exactly what the name means, Silver Pearl. So it really truly is a pearly silver color, and it is quite beautiful, and I'm really hoping that the camera is going to do the color justice as well as the photo in the end. It turns out really quite like a silver. Now for my next one, which is probably my most common embossing powder that I use, it's the white, and this is in super fine detail, so it's going to pick up those extra details, whereas the rest of my embossing powder, the Silver Pearl for example, was in a regular consistency, so this one's going to pick up more details. And when I melt this, you'll see that it is truly a nice white color. It's a very vibrant and bright white, which you don't get from a lot of white embossing powders on the market. A lot of the time they turn out very beige or almost have a yellowy tinge to them, and I find this one as well as the one from Hero Arts tend to be really good. Now the lost embossing powder that I'm going to try, I haven't actually used yet. I saw it in a Tim Holtz video on online card classes, in which he did it, I believe, on a chalkboard technique, and this is called Frosted Crystals, and this is by Ranger, or it's Antiqued Crystals, and it's by Ranger. And I'm going to melt this and we're going to see what this turns out like. In the end, it turned out to be more subtle than the clear embossing powder, and it had a little bit of a sparkle to it, but it was very subtle. So as I'm waiting for this to melt, you're able to see all 5 snowflakes in the screen, and you can pick which one is your favorite or which one you like the best on the dark gray cardstock. As you can see, all of these embossing powders offer something unique and different, and I'm sure they would look very different if you emboss them on white, if you emboss them on black, if you emboss them on colored cardstock. So it's important to test those out as well to see which ones are worth investing. In my opinion, having a white and a clear embossing powder is always the best if you're looking for basics. And if you're looking for something extra to add, I would say the silver pearl is very pretty, and the sticky one is very good if you like working with glitter. The antiqued crystals I found to be way too similar to the clear, and at least on this color of cardstock, and therefore I would say it would be something that I would purchase only if I had some extra spare cash. So I hope you enjoyed this video in which I compared all the quote-unquote white embossing powders, and here is a look at the final card that I made with clear embossing powder. I truly enjoyed this tone-on-tone look, and I thought it looked the prettiest on this background. And that snowflake is absolutely to die for. If you're looking for any shopping links or supply lists, click below. You can click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel, which is my photo, or you can check out other videos there on the side. Thanks for watching.